Good evening. We bring you the latest in the world of sports. I'm Paulo Del Rosario.
And we bring you the conversations you want to hear from your favorite icons and athletes. I'm Bea Diaz Fabros. In tonight's Game Plan, we'll revisit the title-clinching game of Barangay Ginebra in the PBA Governor's Cup and their biggest heroes. Is Scottie Thompson the new face of Barangay Ginebra?
We'll also discuss the tight race to make it to the UAAP Men's Basketball Final Four. And our resident basketball mom, Bea Diaz Fabros, my partner today, presents the next part of her NBA playoffs to-do list. Let's find out what she thinks about Ben Simmons and the Brooklyn Nets. Buckle up, sports fans. Let's get in the game. When you come at the Kings, you best not miss. Barangay Ginebra successfully captured their 14th franchise title after toppling the Meralco Bolts in Game 6 of the PBA Governor's Cup Finals. 103-92 was the final score. Barangay Ginebra dominated courtesy of an LA Tenorio and Justin Brownlee show. Justin Brownlee a double-double, 24 and 16. LA with a 30 bomb that he claims he didn't realize he had 30. But what a win for Barangay Ginebra, 4-2. Again, the defending Governor's Cup champs. Joining us tonight to break down the epic finisher to the Governor's Cup is six-time PBA champion Ali Peak. Ali, we were there at the game. It's like I can never get away from you.
Good evening, Ali.
Evening.
All right, so first of all, Ali, your thoughts on how Barangay Ginebra went about the series, the result that we saw, and of course, toppling Meralco again, who I'm sure must be heartbroken from losing to Barangay Ginebra for the fourth time.
I think this is one of the more challenging series. I've said that time and time again for Coach Tim Cone, because he's had to juggle the lineup not only in the series but also halfway through the elimination. They struggled, and they were a 6th seed going into this whole thing, but yet they managed to pull it out. They managed to win a championship. They had to dig down deep because there were several times where they were on the ropes, but somehow they managed to do it. Very impressive. Just another title added onto Barangay Ginebra and, of course, Coach Tim Cone.
Now, one of the catalysts to another championship for Barangay Ginebra and Coach Tim Cone is definitely Scottie Thompson. And after him getting that best player of the conference, being finals MVP, you know, there are a lot of talks about him being the next face of Barangay Ginebra. Coach Tim Cone thinks that he's well on the way to that legacy. He thinks that he's still far out. But what do you think, Ali?
Absolutely. Why not? You know, when I think about the faces of Ginebra, of course, you go back to Jaworski, but then my generation, it was Fast and the Furious.
Yeah.
Yep,
right. It
of
was
course.
Major Payne. It was Rudy Hatfield for like those couple of years. So why not Scottie Thompson? Perfect position to do that. And I'm just going to go a step further and say that we finally got the chance to see what Scottie Thompson can really do. Actually, we knew that, right? We knew that. But because Stanley Pringle wasn't available, he was able to really put himself in the forefront, really step up for the Ginebra team. You know, hands down, well-deserved in all the awards that he got for winning this championship.
You know, right now we're dealing with, is he or we're not sure, and there's always an argument against it. Some people might say, no, it's still LA at the moment, LA Tenorio. But when you look at what Scottie has done, if he wins the MVP award, is there still a debate that if he's whether or not he is the face to Barangay Ginebra?
I think as long as LA's still there, let's just kind of, you know, slow down a little bit. And we don't know when LA is going to retire. I mean, how old is he? I just went 30.
He's ageless.
He's
Ageless.
What are you talking about?
Hindi na dapat kailangan sabihin.
Well, I mean, it's incredible, right? And he had 30 points that night.
And he did not know that he had 30, allegedly.
He knew he had. We know what we have. Come on. No, actually, it's a possibility, but he did have 30 points, and it was incredible. And we always said he is the key in crucial games, back against the wall type games, monumental games. Whenever he steps up, more oftentimes than not, he never wins. So.
Now let's talk about another player who has really, influenced Barangay Ginebra to, grab so many championships in the Governor's Cup. We're talking about Justin Brownlee. Now, we don't need to say all his accolades, everything that he has accomplished. Do you think that he ranks among one of the best imports of all time?
Same breath as Norman Black, Bobby Parks,
Yeah.
and Sean Chambers, which crazy enough, and it just goes to show everybody how old I am. I played against all three of them. And Coach Norman, we were actually teammates because the import had to leave.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. But for one game, though, right?
For one game,
Yeah.
but that was crazy. That was awesome. But yeah, absolutely. And Coach Tim Cone sure knows how to pick them, right? But absolutely. The one thing that I can remember, yes, he wins this championship. It's that last second shot, that one. I don't know how many seconds were left on that shot. We're going back to 2016, I believe.
Yeah.
I mean, that really. He was already making waves before that, but that shot is so memorable, and it's just etched into PBA history.
Again, he ended the title drought of Barangay Ginebra that was 8 years long, and that buzzer beater to win the title that year for Game 6 in Araneta Coliseum really is probably the first highlight you're going to see when you talk about Justin Brownlee. But people are comparing right now, especially with Sean Chambers in particular. Again, you played against Sean Chambers, and I've heard discussions that Justin Brownlee may be more skilled, and it was really Sean Chambers' workload, the way that he went about his business that made him great. But then what makes Justin Brownlee great for this Barangay Ginebra?
I think you just mentioned it. I mean, he's got the whole package. When you think of all three guys that I mentioned through the histories, let's go to Sean Chambers. With imports, it's always what they do off the court, how they get along with the teammates, most importantly, how they embrace the culture and everything around them. The attitude, the work ethic, Justin Brownlee has all of that. All of those things I mentioned outside of the skill and the points that he produced, all of that is what made Justin Brownlee such a legend here and what helped him win the championship.
You know, last but not the least, Ali, let's talk about the whole championship run of Barangay Ginebra in the middle of the pandemic, in front of record-breaking crowds. We had 20,000 in that last game. How important is this title, not just to the franchise, but to all the fans and to the PBA as well?
Well, we were talking about there was something special in the air. From the very beginning of the series, there obviously because the fans were back. All right, we're in the arenas doing what we're sort of back to normal. But that last game, there was just something special about that game. And whether you're a Morocco fan or an Ginebra fan, you walked away just feeling really good. We walked away with a really good feeling. You know, we were tired, but we felt really good about the whole thing.
Yeah, you know, it felt almost symbolical that this is the first championship with fans after the pandemic. And again, it felt like it was getting better and better because the number of fans
Would just
coming
increasing
every game, right? So I agree with you there, Ali. But then when you look at how this sets up the next season, of course, the next season's happening in June. The draft will happen in May. Things are going to come really fast and really quick alongside the Southeast Asian games. How do you feel this tees off the next season for Barangay Ginebra, for Meralco, knowing that, okay, we're now back in the grind, no more really, really long breaks between the seasons. We're now back to the breaks being maybe a bit too short for some of these guys to recalibrate. Well,
I mean, I think if anything, both of these teams, Morocco, there's still a lot of motivation behind that. Not saying that Ginebra doesn't, but you know, my main concern with Ginebra is just that turnaround and making sure that they're not coming from a very high all the way, you know, all of a sudden a low, getting things started. I think the key with Ginebra is getting off to a really good start.
All right, Ali, thank you very much for helping us wrap up this run from Barangay Ginebra and on the way to their next championship. We'll see you again soon, for sure.
Yeah, sure.
We can talk about the draft picks and the big men and see what happens.
I know,
then.
very soon.
Again, Ali, really appreciate it. Cool. So after the break, it's time to discuss who can make it to the tight UAAP men's basketball Final Four. Stay tuned. You're watching The Game. Welcome back to the game. The commission on higher education congratulates the UAAP for a successful staging of its comeback season. Let's get more on this from UAAP correspondent Bel Gregorio.
The Commission on Higher Education paid a visit to the Mall of Asia Arena on Saturday, April 23, to witness the UAAP basketball games firsthand. Chairman Prospero De Vera was welcomed by UAAP President Nong Calanog and Executive Director Rebo Sagisag. The UAAP extended its gratitude to CHED for their invaluable support and guidance in the league's resumption.
We know the importance of sports, but of course we are dealing with the health and safety of each and every student athlete, and that is why we had to make sure that it is ensured.
Now in the middle of round 2, the men's basketball teams will remain in a bubble setup until the end of the season.
I am very confident that UAAP, because it was part of the team that put together the guidelines, is doing a very good job.
For the UAAP and CHED, their priority is COVID-proofing tournaments so they can easily adjust if a surge happens in the following months. After 2 years of planning, CHED is delighted with the success of the UAAP, even encouraging other leagues to adopt its best practices. This is Bel Gregorio reporting for One News.
As the UAAP men's basketball tournament is down to its last 3 game days, the race to the Final Four becomes tighter and tighter. Tonight, to help us flesh out who can make it to the Final Four, is my partner and UAAP's first female basketball commentator. Yes, sir, Bea Daez Fabros. Bea, we are still at the edge of our seats because the Final Four isn't all set yet. 2 teams are now in, that's Ateneo and UP. Again, this is assuming that we'll need a Final Four if Ateneo does take a loss. But why are these 2 ahead of the pack, in your opinion, in terms of this Final Four race?
Well, for Ateneo, they're a well-oiled machine.
Yeah.
I think none of us are surprised at their standings now that they haven't lost any game yet. I think a lot of people are saying that they can get that sweep in the whole elimination round. We all know what Coach Tab Baldwin has under his belt, and that's really paying dividends so far in the way Ateneo has been playing. For the UP Fighting Maroons, they got those blue chip players. It's great to see them playing so well under Coach Goldwyn Monteverde. But of course, it does not stop there. They clinched the Final Four spot, but they want that twice to beat advantage. And what they need to do is just to win 2 out of their 3 remaining games. They've been playing really well. I like how Richie Rivero has matured into that leader, especially because he has so many rookies playing with him. So for the UP Fighting Maroons, it doesn't stop here. They want to be able to end the elimination round on a winning note.
Arguably the most talented team on paper, talking about
that's
UP.
true.
And it showed against LaSalle, who they had to beat to really secure that Final Four spot. And LaSalle, all of a sudden, could miss out on the Final Four if they aren't careful. What are you worried about when you talk about LaSalle? And if you're trying to make me feel better, what can we lean on?
Okay, so first of all, LaSalle has the tools to be able to enter the Final Four. Just like at UP, on paper, they are very strong. But Coach Derek Pumaran, after that game versus UP, said it perfectly that they have to play well the whole 40 minutes. They turned things around in the second half versus UP. They made that big run in the 4th quarter, but they fell short kasi medyo late na yung run nila.
Yes.
And versus UE as well, I mean, they were expected to win that ball game. They did, but in overtime fashion. I think the missing links here have been their guards in Evan Nelly and Mark Nonoy. They have yet to be as consistent as we want them to be. I think their big men in Balti Baltazar and Phillips have been playing really well, but we have yet to see that perfect game from them wherein everyone is chipping in, everyone is scoring well. So, I think we have yet to see the best of LaSalle, and they can still prove it in their final 3 games.
Manong Derek actually came up with a quote saying that they lack the animo.
Oh, exactly.
They lack the animo. And Manong Derek, please, hanapin nyo yung animo.
Kawawa na si Pao.
Kawawa na ako. But looking at the other contenders, now really the race for the 4th spot arguably is much more competitive when you look at the likes of NU, Adamson, FEU, and to a lesser extent UST. But when you look at NU, who maybe not a lot of people thought that they could make it this far, as well as Adamson, really, why are they doing so well here this season? And why do you think that their fans and their supporters wouldn't be surprised rather if once the end of the eliminations and they're in the Final Four.
You know, for the NU Bulldogs, I think they're really playing great as a team.
Yeah.
You really see how they trust the system of Coach Jeff Napa. I mean, unlucky for them is that here in the second round, they have yet to find that win. I think they've lost a lot of close games, except, of course, for that game versus Ateneo just last Saturday. But they lost that close one versus FEU and Adamson as well. Against UP, you know, they broke down in the fourth quarter. They had the chance in that ball game. So, but aside from that, you know, the fact that they're in the middle of the pack, they're in the race for the Final Four. I mean, this is a relatively young team. They have a mix of veterans and like the likes of Sean Ildefonso. Then you have JLC, but you also have those young gunners in Raylan Torres, Janjan Felicilda. So, you know, sky's the limit for them in the future. But for them, they need to think about the present because they still have a chance for the Final Four.
Adamson, you talk about close losses, and I thought about Adamson as soon as you said that, especially what happened in their first round. But starting to turn things around here. Adamson looked like a very hot team going into this race.
Completely different storyline for Adamson because this time around, the second round, they have yet to lose. And I think the main reason why they are winning, aside of course from the stellar play of Jerome Lastimosa, him being the leading scorer of the UAAP, is that the supporting cast finally knows their role. You have Cedric Baby Face Manzan, who's playing well despite Duanga out with the injury. You have the likes of, you know, the guards, and you have Vince Magbuas playing really well against UST as well. So, you know, in every game, you have different players stepping up to the plate, putting out those supportive numbers to Jerome Lastimosa that's allowing them to get back those wins in the second round.
UST has a chance technically on paper.
On paper, yeah.
But it's going to be tough because they have to sweep the rest of their games and they have to hope the quotient falls their way. But FEU, on the other hand, still have a bit of, they still have control of that wheel. But a lot of people are now saying that maybe underwhelming performances from FEU recently, but with a spark plug like Abarientos, things could change quickly for them.
You know, for FEU, they are a very guard-heavy lineup.
Yes.
I think that they've been playing very inconsistently in the past games. I mean, we see really good games from them, like Cyrus Torres hitting that dagger 3 versus NU. But then, you know, I think the key for them to really get into the Final Four is that everyone has to play well. They cannot rely solely on RJ Barrientos. If LJ Gonzalez has a good game, they can't rely solely on him. It has to be a collective effort for them to still reach the Final Four under the helm of Coach Alson Rosella.
Of course, a lot of crunch games coming up. Adamson, the Red Hot Adamson, playing Ateneo tomorrow might be the biggest one in particular. But then you also look at the race, and FEU LaSalle tomorrow at 10 a.m. is also going to be huge.
Crazy next 3 game days.
Yeah, next 3 game days. And you know what? You should all catch that on One Sports and on Sports of RC channel as well, Signal Play. And catch Bea as Fabros calling some of the games as well. Pero Bea, you look at this right now, quick pop question right before we move on. Does Ateneo lose?
No.
They don't lose. All right, so we're talking about the Final Four. And baka wala naman Final Four. Grabe. But then that's
yung spot of question.
Oh, no,
yeah.
we're doing that with the time running out. So, but then there you have it. Again, that's the race for Final Four. And of course, we have to see if Ateneo will drop a result. Now, when we return, our resident basketball mom, Bea Fabros, presents the next part of her NBA playoffs to-do list. Keep it here. You're watching The Game. watching the game. As we reach the latter part of the first round of the NBA playoffs, it is time for us to hear some reminders from the one and only basketball mom and NBA.com Philippines All-Star writer, Bedaz Fabros. Tonight, she presents to us the next part of her NBA playoffs to-do list. You know, it's funny because by courtesy of her child, that is the cutest graphic that we actually have on this show. So, Bea, you have a list here of things that, to-do list here. And I honestly have no idea what's on. I don't know.
Oh, really? Are you sure? You didn't read it?
They told me not to read the script, and I am lost at sea at the moment. So, where do you want to go first? Because I heard that Ben Simmons is at least one of the guys you want to talk about.
We have to make him first. He has to be the first one. So I'll say it out loud already.
Okay.
Trade Ben Simmons out of Brooklyn Nets ASAP.
Okay.
So first of all, we have to be done with all his excuses. So he wanted to be traded out of the 76ers. He got that because of mental issues, and we'll give that to him. And then now he's with the Nets. And he mentioned that he is cleared to play for Game 4. It was mentioned. Everyone knew that there was so much hype just because we have yet to see him play in this season. And then he doesn't play.
Yeah.
I mean, what's that? I mean, you say you're going to play, but you're not going to play. And at this point, wherein the Nets their backs are against the wall, they need him. So, I just really think that, just ship him out. But we're done with him. I'm done with him.
You're done. You're done with Ben
him.
Simmons. But Ben Simmons hasn't even played. I mean, you could trade a Kyrie instead of a Ben Simmons, or maybe some other piece because you're not trading KD at all. But then I would say that there's at least an argument.
But even Reggie Miller said that he has no competitive fire, and that's where I'm at also. I mean, if you don't want to play, then it's okay. But you should just find your own other team, because Brooklyn Nets need players at this moment.
Grabe, he already had a fresh start. Now he needs an even fresher start.
Even fresher start.
So let's move on now. Drew Holiday is your next guard.
Yeah. So for Drew Holiday, I mentioned that he must be more aggressive offensively.
Okay. Yeah.
Especially with the fact that Middleton is out with an injury and he won't be playing the whole of the first round. But I think that the Milwaukee Bucks, even without Middleton, will still be able to win the first round. But with Middleton, averaging 20 points, someone needs to fill in that gap.
Yeah.
And I think that out of all the players for the Bucks, it's really Drew Holiday. And we all know that he's more known to become that defensive player. But he's a seasoned veteran in the NBA. We know from his previous teams that he can put up those numbers. He just needs to be able to shift it this time around in the playoffs.
I would argue with you, actually.
Oh, really?
I would argue because I watch Bucks basketball now because I'm sad about my Jazz. I'm scared. No, but Grayson Allen actually has stepped up for
true.
Chris Middleton. And I actually think that he may be the guy that has to take over. But I still think you have a point with Drew Holiday, because I think Drew can stay on the floor longer than a Grayson Allen, because there might be fouls there that Grayson Allen shouldn't commit.
But nonetheless, I think the Bucks are still gonna win the first round playoffs, and then you have Middleton coming back after, so they'll be fine.
Yeah, they'll be fine. They'll be fine. Next one, a Warrior, Jordan Poole.
Oh yeah. So I think that Jordan Poole has to be consistent in playing at the level of Steph Curry and of course Klay Thompson. It's not about the Splash Brothers now; it's the Splash Triplets.
Okay.
So I think that he's really been a revelation for the Warriors. Ba't kaya tatawa?
No, kasi hindi dapat Splash Triplets eh. Kasi nandyan na si Klay, nandyan na si Steph, si Jordan, siya yung Poole. Oo, so you don't need to add to the brothers.
Okay.
Anyway, go on. You were saying.
But yeah, I think he's really been a revelation for the Warriors, and he averaged 29 points in those 3 games that they won in the first round, and just because of him playing so well, we have the championship run again for the Warriors coming back into contention, and them really being one of the biggest contenders in this particular season. You all credit it to Jordan Poole. I mean, in the 3 games that they won here in the first round, he has been the best player in all of those games. So.
I agree, and I also think that they may be looking better than we think because Denver's not healthy.
Oh,
that might be, but again, all credit to the Warriors because they look great, and I think could be possible favorites to come out of the West.
I think they're favorites.
All right, speaking about favorites in the West, a lot of people had the Suns as favorites in the West, but then it changed because Devin Booker's injured.
I know.
Because suddenly we're having a great series at the 1-8 You mentioned Chris Paul.
I know we were talking about this earlier, how, the Pelicans right now are in the best position because the number one scorer in the Suns is currently out with a hamstring injury. And for Chris Paul before, he was that type of person that in the first 3 quarters, he can just, relax a little bit, set up his teammates, set up D-Book. But this time around, he has to play great in all 4 quarters. And he mentioned it in that game 4 loss versus the Pelicans in the post-game interview. He said that, he has to assert himself more. He has to be a little bit more aggressive. And I like the fact that, he recognizes that because D-Book was your number 1 offensive option. He's now out. And so, the Pelicans are playing so great. I think they're playing their best basketball. They're peaking at the right time. They're currently at 2-2. And, the Suns, I think, I'm a little bit scared about their position.
Yeah.
A lot of people are saying, that the Pelicans would win it in 6. So Chris Paul really has to be that leader. He is the veteran of the team. He needs to step up if the Suns want to be able to get past the first round and have D-Book back in the second.
The Suns are, you mentioned, precarious position, 2-2, best of 3. That next game, whoever takes it, it's going to put so much pressure on the other. Again, Pelicans playing out of their minds. Herb Jones can block anything, no matter where you shoot it from. So, good luck, Suns. Good luck, Pelicans. And, of course, let's go Jazz. Thank you very much, Bay. But you know what? We're done here with the NBA, but we have a lot more to talk about. Again, thank you very much for going through your mom's do list. And remember, guys, always follow mom.
That's right. That's right.
Always follow.
Now, we have a lot more to talk about. Meantime, badminton fans, don't miss out because the best in Asia are coming to the Philippines. The Badminton Asia Championships 2022 starts tomorrow, April 26 until May 1 at the Muntinlupa Sports Complex. Catch the games live as tickets will be available via Ticketnet. Thank you for joining us. I'm Bea Diaz-Fabros.
Catch us weeknights here on One News, One Sports, and One Sports Plus. I'm Paulo Del Rosario, and this has been The Game.